Hello everybody, I'm Matt and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out Absolute Wonder Woman issue 9 by Kelly Thompson, Hayden Sherman and Jordi Belair. Wonder Woman's meeting with Dr. Poison takes an interesting turn as Diana makes the lead-suited doctor stop their attack on Gateway City, having her shut down her mechanical spiders wreaking havoc on the city below. As the spiders shut down, Diana learns a little bit about poison, learning that they are literally a cloud of poisonous gas, hence why she didn't want Diana to hit her when she first showed up. I really like this. It's more of a Diana trying to solve threats without outwards violence, and we learn a little bit more of what she's up against instead of just immediately trying to defeat the threat, and she wants to learn more about it and why they are doing this. Diana does indeed learn more about Dr. Poison and the government that gave her the Tetracide Soundwave device, which angers Diana greatly since the Tetracide was only doing what it knew how to do. It was its own animal instinct, whereas Poison is a clever human being harnessing a dangerous weapon against their fellow man, so she should have known better. That's a really cool way to look at that, and something I never really considered. Yeah, the Tetracide would just be doing what is in its instinct, what it was bred to do, but, you know, the government using that sound, using that deadly sound as a weapon and weaponizing it against its own people is something that has, thought to it. It has a thought process outside of just base instincts, and that is completely wrong in Diana's eyes, and it is completely wrong. Diana orders Poison to recall all of the spiders and how she knows the Amazon, having claimed that she did in order to draw Wonder Woman to her. Dr. Poison wants to be let go in exchange for the information on the Amazon, and Diana agrees, only planning on coming back if the Doctor harms any more people. Dr. Poison reveals under where she works at Area 41, there is an ancient maze with many things trapped inside, and it's being used almost like a prison for the US government. Diana gets a really cool line here where she wonders if it's full of creatures they don't understand, or is it humans just putting things in there that they think are different. Diana begins another of her spells on the ground, learning the Amazon that Dr. Poison speaks of was already inside the prison when they found it. She asks for the coordinates to the maze, disregarding Poison's protest that she'll never get into the maze thanks to the security of Area 41. The spell finishes and a small portal opens and all of the spiders file into it, heading straight for hell. Wonder Woman leaves Dr. Poison with a warning not to do this again, and this can be said for all of the Absolute books, but I think Wonder Woman has been doing it best, and that is how it's building out the cast of characters it has here. It's got probably the largest cast of characters out of all of the Absolute books, but it's also bringing in new and familiar faces and, including them in their role in Diana's evolving story, like how Mr. Freeze popped up for a moment in Absolute Batman and then was gone for a little bit. I really like that Dr. Poison is doing that here, popping in for a little bit, giving some really important lore, setting Diana out on her next story arc, and then, disappearing, maybe coming back in a couple of issues' time. It's a fun way to have that little taste of like what these people are like in this new world and not have it sort of overtake the overarching story of Diana trying to find her sisters and trying to be a hero in this world that has everything against her. Later on, back at the Heron, Steve learns of the maze under Area 41, loudly telling Diana that this is very clearly a trap, all set by Veronica Cale. Diana doesn't care, citing how she's been through many a maze in her lifetime, and besides, there is nothing she won't try to help out a sister of hers. Diana knows that Steve wouldn't leave her for the same fate, so why should she do the same to someone else? I'm glad we are getting a little bit more of the Heron, even if it's just for background scenes like this with Edda and the others. We even get a really cool bit of lore here as they notice that Diana has mounted one of the Cerberus heads from Hades' arena above the fireplace and kind of dives into this lore of the beast will return at some point. It will return 2 more times since Diana killed it once. It returns 2 more times, and she doesn't know exactly when, but it could happen at any moment, and that's why it's being mounted here. And then there's also this whole honor thing about it being, honorific to display the head of this beast in one's home. And if she didn't, there'd be a mark on her name and she'd be branded as someone who doesn't respect traditions or honors and has no idea what these things mean. And she doesn't want to appear to be someone like that. Stuff like this is the stuff I really find really interesting about, especially comics like this, which dive into like ancient lore and ancient cultures and stuff like that. I'm sure this is probably something set up in some sort of myth or legend that Thompson has found and integrated into Diana's history here. And it also just adds some interesting layers to the world, and this now becomes Chekhov's Cerberus's head above the fireplace. Like, is that going to come back to life? And I like that is even a thing where Diana theorizes, like, oh, maybe it's real, maybe it's not, maybe that was all just a legend to make people feel a bit more honorific in honoring the dead or something. There's layers to it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how much more of this sort of stuff Thompson weaves into Diana's story, because it's really, really interesting. Steve continues to try and talk Diana down from going to the maze under Area 41, but she won't hear it, leaving Steve to listen to his contacts who warned him about Area 41 while she enters a portal she opens from the blood inside a vase, a doorway that leads directly into the maze. Wonder Woman turning more to magic on her adventures really has been a winning formula for this book going forward. Like, just from issue to issue, just getting to see Diana, reach into that bag of holding she has and pull out a giant sword, a new lasso, just something that will help her in her fight against the evil of this world has been really cool. It makes her feel more like a D&D fantasy character. Even now, more so that she's visiting ancient mazes filled with monsters and who knows what else. This is like a classic, Greek myth, the Minotaur, Theseus and the Minotaur sort of situation. But then there's also that D&D sort of vibe to it where, she's trapped in a maze with all these wonderful creatures. It's insanely refreshing as well to have just a Wonder Woman book that's origin is pretty straightforward, it's easy to follow, and it doesn't have that baggage of just like that 80 plus year history of like, oh, well, is she made of clay? Well, is she this? Is she that? It doesn't have any of that. It's just something completely new and different, and it's working. Sometime before in the Wild Isle, the young Diana stirs Cersei from her slumber, since she had a dream about a pretty lady Cersei once told her about that would eventually come to her in her dreams. Cersei wants to know what the woman looked like, learning that she had antlers, meaning that it was Artemis. Cersei knows that with her appearance, the time is soon coming, but it's still too soon. Diana explains that Artemis told her to meet her outside at dawn, making it even sooner than Cersei thought. Not wanting to make Diana panic in any way, Cersei tells her to go wash up, eat a good breakfast, and put on her best clothes and boots and gather her weapons. Diana rushes off to get ready as Cersei is left to lament again how too soon it is. As I've said in the past, I'm glad Thompson is keeping Cersei around in the past sections of this book, filling out little details of Diana's origins and the plans surrounding her, and the mother-daughter dynamic between these two has just been so good, especially because usually they are nemesis to one another. Cersei is usually a Wonder Woman villain, and putting her now in a motherly role for Diana is just so much more interesting. And then that also feeds into what I was talking about before with the magic aspect of Wonder Woman, because Cersei taught her all this magic, and it's led to something much, much more interesting than the stock standard Prime Universe Wonder Woman. Back in the present, Diana enters the maze, placing a sigil on the wall to mark her return door. She is overcome by the smell of the place, but continues deeper, lighting her magical torch to help guide her. As she progresses through the maze, she finds Dr. Poison's hook was baited very well, and while Poison definitely has ulterior motives, she knows that she was telling the truth about the maze. Wonder Woman soon finds a crack in one of the walls, allowing her to see through into a larger room where a Minotaur is battling a group of fishmen. Now there's a weird part in the book here where Diana suddenly has her giant helmet and fur cape on, like we don't see it sort of materialize on her like we've seen before or anything like that. She just has it in the next panel and leaps into action, and it's just really quite weird, a weird jump into like that look for her, especially since up until now she hasn't been wearing that look. Diana leaps into battle as the Minotaur rips a fishman in half, and she uses Nemesis to restrain the monster, using its power to prove if he's the aggressor or the defender in the situation. The lasso proves the fishmen are the real bad guys here, as Diana apologizes to the Minotaur, pledging her lasso to his cause. This is a fun team up, and again, I love Diana resorting to talking things out, or in this case, just making sure she's attacking the right guy before jumping into battle. The Minotaur reveals the fishmen are after a little girl named Petra, who Diana soon finds nearby, citing that she is a siren, yet another mythical creature. Wonder Woman and the Minotaur make short work of the Fishmen, but more turn up, prompting a retreat. But Diana gets between the Minotaur and the Fishmen, telling the monsters that her lasso craves more of their sins. This scares the Fishmen off, giving Diana, the Minotaur, and Petra a reprieve in the fight. The Minotaur reveals that they must go quickly as the Fishmen will return in greater numbers. So Diana decides to accompany them, learning that the Minotaur's name is Ferdinand, and he was one of the original inhabitants of the maze. Ferdinand is a pretty classic Wonder Woman mainstay, although he's a character I'm not overly familiar with. I know he's kind of Diana's chef, and they're like kind of friends, but that's about all I know about the guy. But I like that it's kind of reframing him here, I guess, as like the Minotaur from the Theseus and the Minotaur legend. So that's pretty cool, and I'm intrigued to see how he's going to help Diana, and hopefully he gets out, and maybe he does become her chef, or at least a new friend for Diana to have at the Heron. Diana asks him if he has ever seen an Amazon in the maze, and Ferdinand knows that Clea, the monster who has taken over the maze and is in charge of the Fishmen, and also who hunts Petra, could be an Amazonian. Their chat is interrupted by Queen Clea, who proclaims that Ferdinand has a disrespectful tongue for not referring to her as Queen, and so she will cut it from his head when she grows weary of his screams. Upon seeing Clea, though, in person, Wonder Woman knows that she is no Amazon. She is a monster of the maze. Queen Clea is an interesting villain for Wonder Woman to tackle, and she's usually tackled her in the past, but it's interesting because Clea has a lot of ties to Atlantis. She's usually the queen of an Atlantean like sub-village sort of thing called Venturia, and she usually has, Atlantean tridents with her and everything like that. So I wonder if this is maybe like a soft rebooting of Aquaman in the Absolute Universe, because we've not seen Absolute Aquaman yet, and this is, I think, the first hint at Atlantean related things. So that'd be pretty cool. But I do like that Clea is here and is the person Wonder Woman will be fighting in this next arc. It's an interesting pull from history, and I like that it's not like your usual Wonder Woman villains yet. It's really interesting and weird ones, and I'm intrigued to see what Thompson has in store for Queen Clea. Absolute Wonder Woman issue 9 was a fun beginning to the next arc in Wonder Woman, seeing her go into a mythical maze and really play up the whole D&D magical side of the character that I have been loving so very much. I really enjoy all the little things that Kelly Thompson does with Wonder Woman, especially in this issue, which sees her not resort to violence as soon as she's faced with a threat. She wants to figure out what the situation is before diving headlong first into it, and then also try to solve the problem with words. It's a really interesting take on Wonder Woman, and one that I think we seldom see these days. Usually she's just depicted as the warrior woman. So I'm glad we're getting back to her roots as a warrior of peace, more or less. I can't wait to see what Thompson has in store for Ferdinand, Petra, Queen Clea, this mythical maze under Area 41, and what secrets it holds. I can't wait to see the next issue. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10.